Hi everybody and welcome to AquaDream. Today we have a new topic. Today we are going to talk about water changes. Do you really need water changes in your low-tech or no-filter aquariums? As you know already, I have most of my tanks are no-filter or low-tech tanks. I only have 4 high-tech tanks. All the tanks you see behind me, they are all low-tech aquariums with some of them with filter, but all of them with no CO2. And today let's talk about water changes. Do you really need water changes in your low-tech or no-filter aquarium? Well, some people swear you never need them, while other people say it is the key to success. And I am personally one of them who saying that water changes is the key to your success. Today I will break down the debate about water changes, share that works in my tanks, and give you a simple way to decide what's right for your aquarium. I'll also share my exact water changes rhythm. Weekly for younger tanks, every 2 weeks for my older, mature tanks, and I will explain why I still recommend water changes even for your tanks with the filter, and especially for filterless aquariums. Now, answer me in the comment below. How often do you change water in your tank? Tell me, weekly, monthly, or almost never? So why some people say no water changes? Well, let's talk about that natural balance idea that people following. So in no filter aquariums, like most of my tanks, all my ball tanks are no filter tanks. We rely on plants, a big mass of plants, substrate, a good nutritious substrate, and microorganisms like bacteria to handle all the waste in the tank, to do that hydrogen cycle, to handle it. In theory, if your tank is balanced, it can run for a very long time without big water changes. But this is only the theory. That's what is people are talking on the internet. So let me give you some examples. So that natural balance idea, how to achieve that theory of no water changes at all. So for example, strong plant growth absorbs all the ammonia, nitrites and nitrates. So because that strong plant growth, it takes in all the nutrients, so you don't have excess of that nutrients. In theory, you don't have them because plants will take it all as food and grow. Soil and your substrate provide a home for beneficial bacteria, and low stocking of fish, again, low stocking of fish or shrimp, produces that minimal waste that is then converted by bacteria into nitrate and taken as food by plants and grow. So the cycle completed, the cycle closed. That is the perfect balanced ecosystem where you, in theory, don't need to do any water changes. There are even aquariums online you can find where people claim, where people say that they haven't done a water change for years, just topping of evaporation. So just weekly topping of evaporation, that level of water that evaporates during the week. So they just add extra water that evaporated, and that's all. They don't do any other water changes. Sounds amazing, right? Yeah, that sounds amazing for everybody, for sure, because maintenance is always a very hard thing to do, and sometimes we are lazy to do water change every week. But there is a truth. While possible in theory, it is not always practical or safe for everybody, for all aquarists. Now tell me in the comment below, who here has tried skipping water changes before? How long did it work for you? Why water changes still matter, still important in no filter or low tech tanks? Now let's flip the coin and look at another side of that question. Even in a natural style tank with many plants, water changes bring some big benefits you can't ignore. So water changes, for me personally, is very beneficial. Let's look at some points. The first benefit of water changes is nutrient reset. So every time you change water, you reset all the nutrients in your tank. By resetting all the nutrients in your tank every week, you prevent that excess buildup of nitrates, which your plants in your low-tech tank or filterless tank don't have time to absorb. So it prevents that excess of nitrates, phosphates, and organics. The second benefit of water changes is fresh minerals. I'm using tap water. When I change water, I have so many tanks, I still cannot afford investing into RO water and can't imagine changing all my tanks with RO water. So I'm using tap water with the water conditioner, and by using tap water and changing water with tap water often contains calcium, magnesium, and other trace elements that plants actually need, and animals also. The third benefit of water changes is waste dilution. So even if it's invisible, but your fish and shrimp still produce that hormones and organic waste that builds up in your aquarium during the week. So you have to reset that buildup. And the fourth benefit of water changes is pH stability. So when you put fresh water every week, helps actually balance the pH swings. So your pH stays stable in your aquarium, because that pH swings might happen in your tank if you don't do water changes, and that pH swings caused by all the acids in the tank. So think of it like opening a window in a stuffy room. You didn't open a window in your room for a very long time, and the tank might survive without it. You might survive in that room without fresh air, but fresh air makes everything healthier. Once you open that window in your stuffy room, you breathe that very nice fresh air comes into your room. Same with fresh water coming into your tank every week. So now tell me in the comment, does your tap water make your tank look fresher after a water change? For me personally, plants instantly perk up, plants instantly looking fresher, healthier, and I can see they're bubbling, they're photosynthesizing, they love that fresh water. So my personal water change rhythm, how do I change water in my tanks? All my tanks younger than 1 year get weekly water changes. I still have tanks that are younger than 1 year, so I do water change every week. Why? Because they are still stabilizing. They're still not completely stabilized and balanced. The bacteria colonies and plants are not fully mature yet, so the tank needs that support of that fresh water and that reset of nutrients. For my mature tanks, 1.5 years old or older, I change water every 2 weeks. By that time, they're stable, balanced, and can handle a little more freedom. So I can see that there is no big change in health of my mature aquariums if I change water once in 2 weeks. They stay stable and healthy. But if you are keeping a no filter tank, especially no filter tank, I recommend doing weekly water change. No matter how stable is your tank, because filterless setups have less mechanical and biological support because you don't use the filter, so they don't have that extra biological and mechanical filtration. So water changes act as your safety net. So water changes are essential for filterless tanks. For tanks, for low-tech tanks with, you can skip 1 week. But again, even with the filter, I personally recommend you to change water every week. If your tank is mature enough and very balanced, then you might skip 1 week and do it every 2 weeks. So this doesn't mean huge changes, of course. You don't have to change water every week, like 70%. Even 20-30% weekly changes makes a very big difference. So, do you really need water changes in your low-tech tank or no-filter tank? Maybe not always, but they give your tank a boost your plant growth, prevent hidden problems like algae by removing and reducing the in your water column and keep everything just thriving. You can see, for example, that cube tank is a low-tech tank. There is only filter and no CO2, and you can see how thriving it is. It is still younger than 1 year, so I change water there every week. I still continue doing that every week. Once it matured, maybe 1 or 1.5 years old, I will see, maybe I will change water only once in 2 weeks, or maybe I will just add fresh water to top up that evaporated. For me, weekly for young aquariums and 2 weeks when aquariums are matured. Now I want to hear from you. What's your water rhythm and why? Drop it in the comments. I want to know, how do you do your water changes? Just remember and do not try to achieve goal of no water changes in your aquarium. Remember that water changes will always be beneficial and better for your tank to keep it healthy. Just don't forget about adding bacteria and tap water conditioner like I personally do if you use tap water. Guys, now I want to show you some examples. As you know, I have many aquariums and most of them are low-tech tanks and even tanks with no filter. And all the tanks you can see right now here, they are all low-tech tanks. And of course, I do not change water in them every single week. So I'm gonna show you some examples of some tanks that I still change water every week and some examples of tanks where I change water once every 2 weeks. So you can see there is no much difference between mature tanks and new tanks. And let's start with these 2 bowls. So these 2 bowls are younger than 1 year. So I still change water here every day. And as you can see, all the plants are thriving here. The water is very clear and all the fish and shrimps are happy here. The plants are feeling good, so they like these weekly water changes for sure. I might soon switch these 2 tanks to 2 weeks water change instead of weekly water change, and I think they will be already feeling fine with that because they already showing a very stable ecosystem here, so I don't think they would have any problems if I delay water changes just 1 week. And for example, this bowl is 3 years old, so it is very mature, and here I'm changing water only once in 2 weeks, and as you can see, it doesn't affect this tank, so I don't have big algae issues or something here. The plants are still thriving even it's so old. The plants are looking healthy and they are completely fine with that water changes schedule. So if this tank would show some algae issues and overall wouldn't look healthy, of course I would still continue changing water every week, but since this tank showing a very stable ecosystem, so I can do water changes only once every 2 weeks. Also, all of this rectangular and cube tank, they are all also very mature tanks and also low tech with no CO2. So I change water every 2 weeks as well. And this is, as you remember, this is my new bowl, so it's still cycling, so I'm still changing water here twice a week. And yeah, so soon I will switch to only weekly water changes, but still will continue it weekly. So these 1, 2, 3 bowls are mature bowls. I also change water here only once every 2 weeks. This mini paludarium is also a young one, so I change water here weekly. This bowl is also very mature, 3 years, and I am changing water here every 2 weeks, which, as you can see, also does not affect the overall health of that tank. Same with this bowl and this one, they are all mature tanks. These 4 cubes I still changing water every week, and my long 110 centimeters river tank I also changing water weekly. So these 4 low-tech cubes are actually mature cubes. They are older than a year, so I might switch their water changes schedule to once in 2 weeks, to every 2 weeks, but because they show some algae growth here, so I'm changing water here weekly, so the algae don't grow much here and they still remain healthy, and the high plants are dominant here. My long 110 centimeters river tank, still young, I'm still changing water weekly here, and the plants and fish here are very happy. It always stays very clean, no algae issues at all. The water is crystal clear, so that weekly changes is really beneficial for that tank, so I'm keeping that schedule here. This big cube tank also with no CO2, kind of low tech, only one not a really big filter there, you can see. So because I rebuilt this tank around 4 or 5 months ago, so I'm still changing water here weekly as well. Even this tank has a big mass of plants, and potentially I could switch this tank to every 2 weeks water change, and I think this tank would be still fine, but I'm afraid of some algae growth if I switch it 2 weeks. So I'm going to follow the schedule, the weekly water changes schedule. This bowl is also loves weekly water change, and it's still kind of young bowl, also only a few months old. So of course I'm keeping that filterless tank with weekly water changes once it's matured, 1.5 or more years old. Then I will see, I might start changing water only every 2 weeks. And all of these tanks here, you can see, even these 2 Iwagumi bowls, I change water here only once in 2 weeks, and you can see even that Iwagumi bowl here is so crystal clean. Here is a very perfect balanced ecosystem, so I don't need to change water weekly here. And these 3 very old bowls as well, I also change water here once in 2 weeks, and they are happy with that. Don't show much sign of algae here, just a little bit this very old Iwagumi bowl. Sometimes there are algae on the rocks growing at the end of the 2nd week, right before the maintenance, but I just clean them using a toothbrush, and the next 2 weeks after maintenance this tank looks like new again.
Also this no CO2 shallow tank, also a matured one with a very perfect ecosystem balance here. So I only change water here every 2 weeks. It has a very big mass of immersed plants here. Look at that beautiful Anubias growing very nicely here. And there are lots of cryptocarina at the back. So also a perfectly balanced tank, so I only have to change water here every 2 weeks, and everyone and the plants are happy here. But regarding my high-tech tanks, which are these 4 with CO2, of course, because I'm using CO2 here, I'm using fertilizers, liquid fertilizers as well, because plants are fast growing here. And of course for these tanks I do weekly water changes, weekly maintenance for these tanks. And to be honest, these 4 tanks take more time than all of that tanks, low-tech tanks you can see here. So I actually spend less time on all of these aquariums than on these 4 tanks. So another example for you that low-tech tank is actually the best, especially for people who don't want to deal with high-tech equipment, with CO2 system, etc.
And that's all for today, guys. If you liked this video and if it helped, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, also follow me on my Instagram and TikTok page to see all the updates and other videos of my tanks. Also, don't forget to follow the links in the description to my stores where you can find all the equipment. You can subscribe to my paid Telegram chat where I can help you with your tank. And I'll see you in my next videos. Bye.